Tragic. WWE star Becky Lynch's daughter passes away from cancer. You are watching WrestlingNewsCC. They say the ring is a place of resilience. Of battles fought. Of heroes who rise again and again no matter how many times they fall. But what happens when the real battle, the one far beyond the spotlight, beyond the arena, beyond the cheers and chants, is lost? What happens when even a warrior like Becky Lynch is brought to her knees by something she can't fight? Today, the world stopped. And the WWE universe is shattered. Because just hours ago, in a moment that silenced even the loudest locker room, the unthinkable happened. Becky Lynch's daughter, Roux, her heart, her pride, her reason for everything, has passed away. At only 4 years old. After a private, brutal, and quietly fought battle with cancer. A tragedy so raw, so cruel, it doesn't just break the rules of storytelling, it rips the soul out of it. This is not part of a storyline. This is not entertainment. This is pain. Real, irreversible, soul-ripping pain. And yet the cameras still roll. The lights still flicker. The show goes on. But somewhere in a darkened hospital room, one mother is no longer the man. She's just a grieving mother, clutching a blanket that still smells like her baby girl, in a silence no amount of cheers can ever fix. This is the story WWE never wanted to tell. But now, it must be told. Because for months, something was wrong. Whispers had been swirling among backstage crew. Why had Becky Lynch been disappearing quietly from tapings? Why had her energy shifted? Her interviews seemed more reserved, her matches more careful. Fans speculated she was nursing an injury. Others believed she was simply pacing herself for WrestleMania season. But the truth was darker than anyone imagined. Roux was sick. Not just sick. Dying. And Becky never said a word. Not out of secrecy. Not out of shame. But out of a desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, keeping it private would keep it from becoming real. She didn't want the world's sympathy. She wanted time. Time with her baby. Time to read one more storybook before bed. Time to see just one more smile after chemo. But cancer is the ultimate heal. It doesn't care if your mother is the most dominant woman in WWE history. It doesn't care about legacy, or strength, or fame. And slowly, cruelly, it began to take her daughter away. And yet Becky kept showing up. While the rest of us saw the man, standing strong under the spotlight, cutting promos and building rivalries, behind the curtain, there was a mother wiping her tears between commercial breaks. A mother checking her phone every 5 minutes for hospital updates. A mother living in two worlds, the fantasy of wrestling, and the horror of watching her child slip away. And now, that child is gone. Today, WWE confirmed the news in a brief, heart-wrenching press release. With deep sorrow, we confirm the passing of Roux, beloved daughter of WWE superstar Becky Lynch and fellow wrestler Seth Rollins, after a courageous battle with pediatric cancer. She was surrounded by love, light, and her parents' arms in her final moments. There were no elaborate graphics. No theme music. Just silence. Because even Vince McMahon, wherever he is today, knows there is no angle for this. We reached out to several WWE superstars, past and present, and what we heard was the same across the board: shock, disbelief, devastation. Bayley, once one of Becky's fiercest rivals, posted a photo of her holding baby Roux backstage from a 2021 match. The caption simply read, "The strongest little girl I've ever met. Rest easy, Angel." Charlotte Flair, who has had one of the most storied rivalries in women's wrestling with Becky, was seen leaving the Performance Center in tears. No interview. No statement. Just raw emotion from someone who knows the pain of losing family all too well. And Seth Rollins. Seth hasn't spoken. Not yet. He hasn't tweeted. He hasn't released a video. He hasn't even been seen. And maybe, that's what makes this even more heartbreaking. Because Seth Rollins, the architect, the visionary, the man who always has something to say, has been rendered silent. A father who just lost his baby girl. A husband watching his wife collapse under the weight of grief no championship gold can ease. And what now for Becky? The question we wish we didn't have to ask. What now, when the locker room feels hollow? What now, when there's a tiny pair of shoes by the door that will never be worn again? What now, when the strongest woman in WWE has nothing left to fight? For those of you who remember the fire in Becky's eyes when she headlined WrestleMania, When she stood face to face with Ronda Rousey and dared the world to believe in her, that same fire, that same pride, that came from Roux. Becky once said in an interview, "Everything I do for her. When I win, I imagine her clapping in the front row. When I lose, I imagine her telling me I'm still her champion. That champion is now holding ashes." And the WWE Universe, so full of chants and roars and signs and slogans, now feels like it's holding its breath. Because how do you come back from this? How do you lace up your boots after you've buried your child? We've seen wrestlers return from injury, from mental breakdowns, from personal scandals. But this is the kind of loss that breaks people, that rewrites their identity. And the cruelest part, Roux was loved by all of us, even those of us who had never met her. Because she represented something purer than any storyline. She was hope. She was the reminder that even in a world as violent and theatrical as WWE, real life still matters more. And today, life hit harder than any chair shot. But there's something else. Something we haven't addressed. Something that's beginning to anger a lot of fans. Where was the support? Why did WWE, a billion-dollar company built on loyalty and family and unity, allow Becky Lynch to walk this road alone? Why did we not know sooner? Why wasn't more done? We've heard from insiders that Becky requested privacy. That WWE respected her wishes. That she didn't want to make it a public thing. But should it have been? Should the WWE Universe, millions of people who've stood by Becky since NXT, have had the chance to support her through this in real time? To send her strength when she needed it most? Or did corporate silence cost her the comfort of community? These are hard questions, but they must be asked. Because behind every Becky 316 shirt and Big Time Bex segment is a woman who needed more than applause. She needed arms around her. And maybe we failed her. But we won't fail her now. Because from this day on, let it be known, Roux mattered. Her story mattered. And her legacy won't be some footnote whispered behind closed doors. This is not just Becky's tragedy. It is ours too. And in her silence, we will raise our voices. In her sorrow, we will speak love. To every parent who has ever lost a child to cancer, your pain is seen. Your grief is valid. And your child will never be forgotten. And to Roux, who never got to win a championship, never got to walk down the ramp in glitter and boots like her mama, never got to grow into the warrior we knew she would be, we say this. You were our light. And even now, you shine. What do you say to a mother who's lost everything? What do you tell a father who's now staring at an empty room, filled with quiet toys and cold silence? There are no promos that prepare you for this kind of grief. No championship speech. No cinematic WWE return. This is not the kind of pain you cut into a storyline. This is the kind of pain that scars you forever. And today, Seth Rollins is not the visionary. Becky Lynch is not the man. They are just two shattered souls holding onto one another, because the one thing they built their world around, is gone. And maybe that's what hurts most. Because we watched that world grow. From the moment Becky and Seth announced they were expecting, the WWE Universe was buzzing. It wasn't just two superstars having a baby, it was a power couple welcoming new life into a chaotic business. Fans posted fan art of Becky holding a baby in her gear. Seth once joked in an interview that their daughter would curb stomp the world before age 5. And when Roux was born, the world seemed lighter. Becky stepped away from wrestling, not for injury, not for burnout, but for motherhood. She walked into that delivery room with the same determination she brought into every WrestleMania match. And Seth, the man who once betrayed his brothers in the Shield, was now posting photos of baby fingers wrapped around his own. It was beautiful. It was human. But now, those same hands are cold. And every fan who ever posted, "Wrestling is fake," just got a gut punch from reality. Because this isn't fake. This isn't staged. This isn't a heel turn. This is real. Tragically real. And yet somehow, through all of this, Becky never lost her dignity. She didn't turn this into a documentary. She didn't post hospital selfies or crowdsource pity. No tweets fishing for sympathy. No Instagram captions layered in filters. Just silence. Because her grief was sacred. But now, as that silence turns to heartbreak, the WWE Universe is left with questions. Not about what happened, we know that now. Cancer. That word. That damn word. but about how something so devastating was happening right under our noses. A little girl was fighting for her life, and the same fans chanting, "Becky! Becky!" Didn't even know they were cheering on a mother who had been crying in the parking lot before the show started. And you know what? Maybe it's time for us to ask ourselves a hard truth. Are we paying attention? Do we see our heroes as people, or just content? Because Becky Lynch isn't just a storyline. She's a mother who sang lullabies after midnight chemo. Who held back sobs during interviews. Who looked into a crowd of thousands and still managed to smile when all she wanted was to scream. She wore the pain like armor. Not to hide it, but to carry it.